Economic disruption, the sudden explosion of AI, the permanent shift to hybrid work. Look, our business landscape hasn't just shifted, it's been entirely rewritten. We are standing at a massive strategic turning point right now. But here's the absolutely crucial mindset shift we need to make today. Disruption is not some threat you just react to. It's a powerful catalyst. It is an unprecedented opportunity to redesign how we operate, how we make decisions, and how we create long-term value. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tearing down the biggest misconceptions around modernization and building a concrete, actionable roadmap to give you a sustainable business advantage.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, the digital transformation myth. 2, the 5 stages of maturity. 3, why most transformations fail. 4, the 70-20-10 innovation rule. And finally, number 5, your blueprint for reinvention.
Starting off with Section 1, the digital transformation myth. And spoiler alert, it's not just an IT project.
Now I want you to really think about this central question. Why do so many digital transformations flat out fail? We've all seen it happen, right? Massive budgets get approved, huge multi-year timelines are established, you sit through endless workshops, and yet, months or even years later, the needle hasn't actually moved on business performance. The initiatives just stall out, and budgets are completely wasted. So why does this keep happening?
Well, we're dealing with a classic Trojan horse scenario here. The myth, the big lie, really, is that digital transformation is simply an IT project. It's this naive belief that if you just buy a shiny new cloud platform, roll out the latest AI tool, or hand the whole mess off to a chief digital officer, boom, you've transformed. But the reality? True transformation is a fundamental change to the business model itself. Technology is merely the enabler for that change. It is not the transformation.
So the crucial point is that to turn transformation into a true enterprise capability, you have to align 4 very specific, connected dimensions. It's like a giant puzzle. First, it requires changing the business strategy, which defines your ultimate purpose. Second, the operating model, which determines how work is actually delivered. Third, the technology architecture, providing the tools. And fourth, this is the big one, organizational culture, which dictates whether your people will actually adopt these new ways of working. When these 4 dimensions connect, you win. When they're disconnected, you're just burning cash on tech without achieving any meaningful change.
All right, moving into Section 2, the 5 stages of maturity. Let's assess your journey and see where you stand. Organizations generally evolve through 5 distinct stages. You start down at the foundation, basically digitizing your basic processes to create a reliable infrastructure. Then, you move up to siloed innovation, where individual teams are running their own fragmented little experiments. The big leap, though, happens at enterprise strategy, where leadership finally steps in and aligns these fragmented efforts into one shared vision. That alignment unlocks the new business model stage, which creates brand new sources of customer value. But the ultimate goal? That's the final stage, continuous reinvention. This is where you build a culture and a system capable of adapting and disrupting itself repeatedly, long before the market literally forces you to change.
But listen, please keep this in mind. Maturity is not some rigid staircase that the entire company climbs at the exact same time. Actually, scratch that. It's highly nuanced. For example, you might have a finance team that has a brilliant, highly automated data foundation while your customer service department is over there still relying on totally manual legacy processes. Leaders need to assess this maturity across different functions and pinpoint the exact areas where investment will unlock the greatest immediate business value.
Let's pivot to Section 3, why most transformations fail. We're looking at the roadblocks and traps. Here are the structural failures we see time and time again. Organizations constantly underestimate the sheer complexity of change. They let internal silos completely block progress. They measure mere activity, like, say, launching a platform, instead of actual tangible business outcomes. But pay special attention to this last one, the ambition to execution gap. This is incredibly dangerous. This happens when senior leaders announce a bold, sweeping transformation vision from the top, but they completely fail to give middle managers and frontline teams the time, the authority, or the incentives to actually execute it.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it completely reframes employee resistance. We so often label hesitant employees as stubborn or maybe out of touch, but think about this perspective for a second. People who appear to resist transformation are often simply protecting the stability and reliability of the business. They're just trying to meet existing performance expectations that honestly haven't been adjusted for the new transformation.
So rather than treating these folks as obstacles, we have to empathize, educate, and involve them early so they become co-creators of the solution.
Which brings us to Section 4, the 70-20-10 innovation rule. It's all about balancing the portfolio.
In this incredibly useful framework, roughly 70% of your effort and resources should be dedicated to running and optimizing your core business, keeping the lights on, basically. Then 20% is allocated to continuous improvement and adjacent opportunities. And a fiercely protected 10% is strictly focused on disruptive, transformational ideas. Now sure, the exact percentages can flex a bit based on your industry, but the core principle is absolutely non-negotiable. You must deliberately allocate attention to both operational excellence today and future reinvention tomorrow at the exact same time.
And looking at these two fatal extremes brilliantly illustrates why this balance is quite literally a matter of survival. If you focus 100% of your energy purely on the core business, you face the absolute certainty of market obsolescence. You become a dinosaur. But if you over-index and focus 100% on disruptive, pie-in-the-sky ideas, you totally undermine the very stability that keeps your business running right now. The 70-20-10 model forces leaders to have those tough, open discussions about resource allocation so the urgent daily fires don't consume your capacity to innovate.
Finally, Section 5, your blueprint for reinvention, how we actually execute the change.
Let's see how this all builds into a cohesive, 6-step implementation sequence. Step 1. Diagnose your digital maturity and pain points. 2. Prioritize a small number of high-impact use cases. Don't boil the ocean. 3. Design your target processes and governance. 4. Pilot those solutions in a controlled environment to gather rapid, real-world feedback. 5. Scale the successful pilots across the wider business. And Step 6. Optimize continuously based on hard performance data. This right here is exactly how you translate a high-level strategy into disciplined, iterative execution on the ground.
But as you execute those steps, how are you actually measuring success? It cannot just be checking a box saying, yep, new software was deployed. You need a balanced measurement system across 5 key indicators. Are you seeing real financial impact, like cost reduction? What about operational performance, like faster cycle times? Are you delivering actual customer value through noticeably better satisfaction scores? Are your employees actively adopting the new tools? And finally, is your overall innovation health strong? These tangible business outcomes, these are the true metrics of transformation.
And hey, remember, you do not have to do this all alone. Especially when internal budgets are tight, organizations absolutely must build an ecosystem. By partnering up with technology firms, hungry startups, and specialized consultants, you gain immediate access to experimentation capacity, cybersecurity guidance, and digital product design that might literally take you years to build internally. The smartest companies out there leverage this external expertise while maintaining strict internal ownership of the final outcomes.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, it brings us to the ultimate provocative question you need to ask yourself and your leadership team right now. Are you just adopting technology for its own sake, or are you genuinely reinventing your organization to survive and thrive? True transformation is about operational discipline combined with bold, fearless experimentation. It's about preparing your culture, your strategy, and most importantly, your people for a world that simply refuses to stand still. Challenge your assumptions, invest in your people, and build the capacity to reinvent continuously. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.